Hey everyone, it's VM Campos, comic book fan. Welcome to another episode of the weekly VM Campos Comic Book Club. This is the series where I read a comic book, new or old, from my collection and rate it on the following dimensions: the cover art, interior art, plot, and enjoyability of the comic book on a scale of 1 to 5. This week I'm reading Space Riders Vortex of Darkness #1 from Black Mask, published in 2019. For the audio version of the series, head on over to your favorite podcasting app, search VM Campos, and subscribe. Now, spoiler alert, I will be going through the various pages of this comic, so you're encouraged to read it for yourself if you don't want to be spoiled. Head on over to your favorite comic shops, buy the book for yourself. Support your favorite creators, companies, and comic shops. It's really worth it. So let's get on with the show. First of all, a little background info as usual. I actually don't have very much background info. Black Mask is one of the smaller independent comic book companies. I don't think I really have any of their books in my collection. But if their books are on par with this one, that is a wrong I need to right. And I saw this on this comic on the Diamond World Previews website, or Previews World, whatever it's called. And I saw it was coming out in a few months, and I'm like, yeah, the cover just looks interesting, and the plot sounded interesting, so I picked it up. And I'm glad I did. So again, I don't know anything about it. Apparently, this is sort of like a sequel to something else that had come out previously from Space Riders and the creative team. So again, I don't know too much of the backstory, but when you can judge a comic book by its cover and it really makes you want to buy it, I think that's going to be a good comic book. So let's get on with the main review. Alright, cover art. This is by Alexis Zirit, which is the main artist in the comic book. It's a beautiful, very well graphically designed cover using the amazing color palette of CMYK. We've got cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Literally, this cover is made from those basic printing colors. It's a stark black background with the main character, Captain Peligro, coming at you with his skull mask activated, and he's pretty much in all magenta tones, and then he's got cyan on his mask on his face, and then the name of the book, Space Riders, is in a really gnarly font, and everything else is just stark black. So I love this cover. It's just so powerful, so simple. The Black Mask logo at the top left corner with a vaguely Hajime Sorayama style female character, robotic, perhaps cybernetic, in the top left corner in front of a sun. So you get those images there of that artist in terms of sexy robot lady, I suppose. But just for the powerful, stark aspect of it, I give this cover a 5 out of 5. I kind of love it. If you don't know anything about this series, just by looking at this cover, it doesn't look like other comic covers. It looks like maybe an album cover or some sort of 70s vintage style poster. So I really like this cover. It really sold me on the book when I saw it on the shelves, and I had previewed it in another video, and just by the synopsis sounded interesting, but then I kind of forgot about the comic. And then when I saw it on the shelves, I'm like, I remember that comic, I remember that cover, let me get it. And I did, so great cover. Interior art is by Alexis Zirit, and letters are by Ryan Ferrier. Interior art is like, what is this genre of art? I'm gonna call it the Adult Swim gross or grotesque style of art. Now, I know Adult Swim didn't invent this style, but I really equate this style with them. It's this sort of like cartoony yet realistic, over the top, just wacky, wild design. Expressions are well done. You can tell, anger and fear, and you can tell the expressions. And the style, though, is this like grungy, weird, underground style. It's cartoony. It's gross. That's one word to describe it, but not gross in a bad way. It's just like very mannered and detailed And the color palette, the front cover, it was just 4 basic colors. Interior, it's a bunch of colors, but again, it's just very overall very flat colors, but very powerful greens and blues and yellows and purples. A character is highlighted in pure yellow for no reason, but it's just visually amazing. When he kills one of the bad guys, he's split in the middle, and what's in the middle is just pure blue, his blood gushing out, but it's pure blue. And then just like these highlights of colors, the interior art is amazing. I'm going to give this a 6 out of 5. It's just such great interior art. Again, it's not everyone's cup of tea. It's not realistic. It's not going to be like a Lucio Perillo style or a Joe Jusko style. Again, what is the name of the style? I'm going to call it the Adult Swim style, but it's just very grungy. It's very 70s. It's very underground style. Comics with an X style, perhaps. And it tries to recreate like this is a vintage comic book, because there's no pure white there in the pages. There is an off yellow. There's a cream color to the pages. Wherever there's supposed to be any white, it's cream color, and that is trying to capture the sense of this is an old comic book that you found in the bottom of a shoebox or something that you've just discovered. So I like that. It's got like fake stains throughout the book as well. That's always fun when you see that. So great interior art. Really like it. Home run. The plot was also very enjoyable. This was written by Carlos Gifoni. And I don't know, again, this is a sequel, and so stuff happened before you meet the main character, and this is the Vortex of Darkness, the new storyline. But this issue shook me after I read it. I reread it right away. I almost never read and then reread a comic. I just couldn't believe what I had read, and I just needed to read it again. Taking some excerpts here. There's like a band of space bikers cruising through space towards a planet. The main bad guy says, "It's finally time." They get closer to a planet. He says, "We are going to get our revenge." They land on the planet. A badass crew of bikers is there. Further, the leader says, "This dies today." They get to some tough biker bar, El Turfo, and they call out to him, "We know you are there. Come out, it's time to die." Our main protagonist drinks his final drops of alcohol and calls out to them, "I am coming. You are about to make a mistake." And then an epic battle ensues. An orgy of violence happens where the main character, Captain Peligro, kills everyone spectacularly, violently, over the top. They all suffer his wrath. And then so only the main bad guy is left, who happens to crap his pants. "Wait, I surrender. I can make you very rich. This is just a misunderstanding. It doesn't have to be this way." And Peligro replies, "No one tries to Peligro and lives, not anymore. You," and cuts him in half. Freaking epic. I love that beginning. It's just so violent, so over the top. It's a violence that is very cartoony, so you can live with it. Because if this was a realistic violence, I think it would be too much. But just the saturated colors, the over-the-top violence, it just works perfectly with this series. And the rest of the book is like this. It's very violent. There's a lot of profanity. There's nudity in here. There's this epic plot happening where an ancient evil is being reborn. So Peligro has to go meet with his compatriot Mono, and they try to defeat this ancient evil, La Reina, or the Queen, and she's coming back from like the dark depths of evil, and they manage to barely defeat her at that moment. But then there's an epic recounting of what is her origin, what are her powers. Basically, she's stronger than the devil because she seduced him and took his power and such, and it's just so epic, so over the top. It's a great plot. I loved it. This is a 10 out of 5 plot. It's like no comic I've read in a long time, and like I said, I had to read it and then reread it right away because it was just so epic. And so lastly, the enjoyability of the book, it's a perfect 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed the book. Like I said, I read it and then right away I went back to page 1 and started to read it again. I even read it out loud and read it in voices, just like I did for you now. It was such an affecting comic book. I enjoyed it so much. The art is over the top. The art is just graphically designed so interestingly, so different than other comic books, especially the superhero comics from the big two. So the art was amazing, the story was hilarious, it was over the top, it was violent, great cover, very enjoyable comic. I'm going to give this a perfect 5 out of 5. And really urge you to check it out yourself. You won't be disappointed. So I definitely recommend this comic book. Pick it up, you won't be disappointed. And if you're interested in subscribing to the podcast version of the series, head on over to your favorite podcasting apps, search for VM Campos and subscribe. Or maybe go over to my Patreon, patreon.com/vmcampos. Follow for free to be uploaded to everything that I do online. Or go to the $1 tier to unlock exclusive stuff, the $2 tier, and I'll actually mail you a comic book from my curated collection in thanks. Or simply like, follow, subscribe, comment, and all of that. Tell me about the book. Did you like the book? Tell me about it in the comments. In any event, this week I read Space Riders #1, Vortex of Darkness, published by Black Mask in 2019. This has been the weekly VM Campos Comic Book Club, and I'll see you next week.